Sex is a unique human experience that often represents both the highest and lowest points of our life. Points we feel more alive than we've ever felt before and perhaps closer to anyone than we've ever felt before. But also, it represents points of our greatest shame, greatest guilt, and even abuse. So come with me. There's a room I want to show you. Here, in the bedroom. It's the one room where a lot of couples think God doesn't belong, or they would never even think to talk about God here. And yet God has a lot to say about the sexual relationship between a husband and a wife. We might be uncomfortable talking about sex, but the Bible is not. In fact, it's almost shocking how explicit the Bible can be, not only in celebrating our sexuality, but talking honestly about the force that sex can be in a life. It will be either a force for good or a force for ill. Song of Songs talks about this when we're told, "I liken you, my darling, to a mare harnessed to one of the chariots of Pharaoh." Now, if you know the historical situation, you would realize that a mare never pulled one of the Pharaoh's chariots. They wanted to go as fast as possible, so they would always find the best stallions to pull the Pharaoh's chariots. So why would a mare be fastened? Well, what they discovered, and I apologize in advance if this makes some of you queasy, keep in mind this isn't my idea, I'm simply telling you what Scripture says. They found that when they would harness one of the mares to the Pharaoh's chariots, it literally whipped the stallions into a sexual frenzy and upped their horsepower. They could pull the chariot faster when they were next to a mare than when they weren't. And it's a picture of a man's life who's in a healthy sexual relationship with his wife. A man who's sexually fulfilled is a better father. He's more focused on his kids. He tends to be a better husband. He's a better worker. He can even be a better Christian and more faithful in his spiritual disciplines. But the reverse, sadly, is also true. One of the best ways to zap a man's strength is to give him a sexual addiction or for him to be involved in any sexual expression outside of marriage. He spends less time with his children. I talked to a man one time, and he realized things had gone way too far when he was trolling on the internet for images, and he heard his family coming home earlier than expected, and he literally regretted that his family was home. Whenever we regret seeing our family come home, we know our priorities have become twisted. The very thing that God designed to preserve our hearts and cement our affections at home with our wives, protecting our children, Satan would use to pull us away from being effective workers, from being involved husbands, from being caring fathers or caring mothers. In fact, the Bible presents sexual fulfillment as a blessing and a prayer. In Proverbs 5:18 through 19, we read, "May you rejoice in the wife of your youth, a loving doe, a graceful deer. May her breasts satisfy you always." When you look in the Hebrew, that passage, "may you ever be captivated by her love," has a real intense sense about it. In fact, 2 Old Testament commentators have likened it to a morally permissible love ecstasy. What they're saying here is that it's a picture of a man who was literally struck dumb at the sight of his wife's naked body. Maybe she's walking out of the shower or she's crawling into bed. At that moment, she is all that exists for him. A nuclear bomb could go off next door and he might not even see it because he's so enthralled with her beauty. And the Bible presents this as a blessing and a prayer. May you ever have this. May you rejoice in this. This is God's will for you. As shocking as it may sound to some of us, God doesn't turn his eyes when a married couple goes to bed. There's nothing shameful about it. There's nothing naughty or sinful about it. It's what God designed. It's what God blesses, and it's what his word celebrates. The first thing I want to talk about is how sex can be a powerful force for intimacy between a husband and a wife. If you were to scope a male brain and a female brain with a number of the instruments that neurologists use today, you would understand that women have up to 10 times more oxytocin coursing through their brain than the average man. Oxytocin is a loyal bonding chemical. It's why women often connect relationally so much better than men do. It's why you often see women at a Starbucks, for instance, looking in each other's eyes with all of the empathy, or why women often bond with children more quickly than a man might bond with his child. You don't usually see men staring in each other's eyes like that, but there's one time in a man's experience when his levels of oxytocin actually reach that of his wife's, and that's immediately following a sexual encounter. Women, why do your husbands want to have sex with you so often? Whether they realize this consciously or not, the reality is they never feel closer to you than immediately following the sexual encounter. Now, you might wish it wasn't that way. You might wish your husband felt closest to you after he fixed the garbage disposal, or maybe after he came home from a frustrating episode at work and spent 45 minutes talking about his feelings and how he felt discounted by his boss and dismissed by his coworkers. But I'm sorry, I didn't create your husband, God did, and this is how God created your husband. And in many ways, I think it's a brilliant design that God has given men a hormonal motivation to stay intimate with their wives, because any wise husband will understand that to be sexually active with our wives, we need to be relationally aware. We need to be relationally connected as well. We're not altruistic beings by nature. In fact, we're sinful, rebellious, and independent. So God has given us a very physical urge to keep the spiritual and relational and emotional intimacy of our marriage intact and growing. Because just as we discussed in earlier sessions that the romantic attraction fades, this is one thing that God has designed that renews our attraction for each other, that renews our commitment, our sense of celebration, and our sense of enjoying each other.